Good evening. It's 6 o'clock on Tuesday, May 31st, 2016. Welcome and thank you for joining us tonight for the English edition of Aura News, where we bring you today's top stories translated into English every weeknight. When asked by Aura News about the delay of the reform adoption, the U.S. Embassy in Tirana responded by saying, "This is the time for the judicial reform to be adopted." The U.S. Embassy told Aura News that May 31st was the last deadline for the ad hoc commission to adopt the reform. However, the political class still lacks consensus and have not yet reached an agreement over the issues of debate. It would seem as though the interventions of the U.S. and EU ambassadors has not convinced the parties to meet the clearly defined deadline. When implemented, the judicial reform will be the most important reform in Albania in the past 25 years, since the fall of communism. 91% of Albanians want the reform. Political party leaders say they support the reform. Experts and politicians have written drafts and comments on the reform. It is time that politicians reach a compromise and adopt the judicial reform as soon as possible, says the U.S. Embassy in an official reaction. Other EU ambassadors have shown concern about the delay, and the Albanian Helsinki Committee has also called on the politicians to not delay adopting the reform. The mayor of Kavaja announced his resignation today on his Facebook social account. In a long post, Elvis Roshi stated his shock and clarified the results as his having been sentenced in Italy when a minor. "My lawyers informed me that suddenly I was found to have been convicted as a minor. Apparently, I was sentenced in Italy without my knowledge when I was still in the refugee camp. I'm still shocked by this news. I remember that the police had once taken me after a quarrel in the camp. After interrogating me, the police let me free because I was a minor. I did not even know Italian. But there has never been a trial against me, and I have not spent a single day in prison for a sentence imposed by a court for minors at the age of 16, says Roshi. He adds that because of this sentence, it's impossible for him to stay on duty. Mr. Roshi apologized to the Kavaja citizens and to the Prime Minister. "I sincerely apologize to Kavaja citizens and to the Prime Minister, Edi Rama, who has trusted and supported me, and today they are hearing this undesirable information. Everyone should know that I am not hiding anything that I knew," wrote the former Kavaja mayor. The removal of Kavaja's mayor has been a continuous request of the opposition. The U.S. ambassador has also spoken about the removal of candidates with criminal records. In an earlier statement, the U.S. ambassador expressed his belief that those with criminal records would make the best decision and resign. The Socialist Party Secretary for Electoral Coordination called out the Democratic Party chairman, saying he needs to treat the Democratic Party MPs exactly the same way. Unlike Edi Rama, who brings everyone who makes a mistake before the law, the Democratic Party chairman defends his MPs even when they are in complete violation of the law, she said. The Central Election Commission dismissed 18 city councilors from all around the country today and will verify the mandates of 5 others who did not submit the self-declaration form as required by the decriminalization law. According to the law, May 4th was the last deadline for the city councilors to submit the form, but multiple city councilors did not turn them in and are facing dismissal. The Central Election Commission is allowing some city councilors to submit the self-declaration form late and will review their forms. The decision to permit late forms was made amidst debates between the Central Election Commission members, as the decriminalization law stipulates that not meeting the deadline is considered a refusal, which brings the end of their mandate. 12 city councilors have submitted their self-declaration forms in violation of legal deadlines. Former Prime Minister Sali Berisha was invited to our program tonight, Ilvatare, where he spoke about his stance on judicial reform, his statements in Parliament, the phone tapping issue, and about the LGBTI laws. Concerning the judicial reform, he declared that the electoral reform and electronic counting of votes are the main conditions for the judicial reform. He added that the deadline for adopting the reform is the end of June. The historic leader of the Democratic Party spoke out about how he feels that the stance the socialist movement for integration and its leader are holding about the judicial reform is unfair. Regarding decriminalization, Mr. Berisha reiterated his statement that the Prime Minister has made comments that people from the North are criminals, declaring that he will resign from politics if a single Democrat MP has a criminal record. Regarding the planned meeting between the Prime Minister and the Democratic Party chairman, Berisha expressed optimism that the meeting will be held, but added that the party should go prepared. Commenting on the phone tapping issue, he declared that the equipment has illegally tapped phones, including those of ambassadors. While commenting on economic issues, Mr. Berisha declared that the government has failed in this aspect and that the foreign investors are leaving the country. When asked about the strategy the Democratic Party is following to come into power, Mr. Berisha said that they should aim for a wider coalition. The former Prime Minister didn't feel that changing the Constitution regarding sexual orientation was necessary, saying that the current law guarantees LGBTI rights. Present at the 25th Assembly of the Alliance of the Mediterranean News Agencies, the Assembly Speaker Alere Mehta praised the media's role in promoting the country and in establishing communication between countries, especially between the countries that have had problems in their pasts. The Assembly Speaker asked the Albanian media to be objective regarding the news related to tourism, asking them not to report misleading stories about the most important sector of the economy. Mr. Mehta declared that the Mediterranean countries, including Albania, have extraordinary potential for economic development, especially in tourism. During the 25th Assembly of the Mediterranean News Agencies, directors and representatives of news agencies from 22 countries discussed the media's role and the current challenges in promoting tourism in the region. In the last 10 years, Albania has lost 15% of the green areas, and many rare species are not coming back to our country. Official statistics were made public by the Minister of Environment on May 22nd, the International Day of Biodiversity, who considered the moratorium on hunting and forestry to be a drastic but necessary measure. The minister said that the cessation will have a positive effect if it is applied. The Minister of Environment declared that environmental education is a common challenge of society, state institutions, and the education system. Albania can become a competitive country with other European countries. We can have biodiversity with the fauna and flora that nature has already given to us, but we should preserve it, said the minister. The coordinator of the United Nations agencies in Albania appealed for the protection of wildlife through participation in the global initiative BioBlitz, which will start in Tirana and then be extended to 61 municipalities of the country. These messages were given from the Faculty of Natural Sciences Botanical Park, which is used for scientific research. The park, with around 850 rare plants, is visited by 3,500 people per year. However, off camera, the Botanical Park's executives pointed out that the park currently suffers from a lack of funds. That's all for our English edition this evening. Please join us again Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. for your local news in English. My name is Mari, and on behalf of Aura News, thank you and good night.